Alright, in this video I'm going to be walking you through a few tips when replacing the U-joints in your third generation Toyota 4Runner. Note, I'm doing this on the heels of replacing the front and rear U-joints on my 99 4Runner. Note it is two-wheel drive and the four-wheel drive models are a bit different with how their joints are set up. Now to kick us off, this job really isn't super complex. If you know your way the least bit around a vehicle, you should be able to do this. Costs about $100 and probably uses a lot of the tools that you have already at your disposal. Now, with that said, my first tip would be to have two people. I know that this isn't always something that is readily available, but it does make it nice when dropping the shaft out of the vehicle and even putting it back in. You're trying to pop the rear of the shaft down and it's going to drop once it breaks free, and you'll need to have a hand there to catch it. It's kind of hard to do with one person. Two people makes it a bit easier. Next up, before you actually remove the shaft out of the vehicle, you're going to want to mark where the shaft mates up with the transmission. So use a paint marker or a Sharpie, something that won't come off when you clean everything up after you take it out. But you do this so that when you put the drive shaft back in place, it's going to be lined up exactly how you took it out. That's important because the drive shaft itself is balanced, so if you put it back in and it's not exactly where you took it out, you might experience a wobble different than maybe the wobble you experienced when your U-joints were bad before you had replaced them. Next two tips are going to be around the tools required to do the job. Now, I saw a lot of people, as I was doing some research, they used a ball joint press in order to get some of the caps out or put some of the caps back in. I really don't think that this is necessary after having done the job. Really, all you need to pop some of those caps out is a 19mm socket. You should be able to line that up on the cap and then hit it with a maybe a mini sledgehammer or a hammer, and that should be enough to jar free that spider as you're taking out those caps. Similarly, when you go and put the caps on, you can use a bench vise if you have one. I have one back here if it's in frame, and I use that to squeeze the caps back in together, and it did just fine. If you don't have a bench vise, no worries. Use a cheap C-clamp to push both of those caps in at the same time. You'll have control over it, but it does get a little bit hard to put those in. But again, I don't think you really need any sort of special tooling. Now, since we're talking about the caps, I do want to call out, it's very important when you go to put that new cap on, if you put it on kind of crooked and you disturb some of the needle bearings inside of the cap, you'll need to take that off and then reset those needle bearings. What will happen is those needle bearings will get crushed or the cap won't sit just right, and eventually that spider or that joint itself is going to fail prematurely, or it's not going to fully move through its range of motion and you're going to have to replace that cap. So be very careful when you go to put those new caps on that none of your needle bearings fall out of place. Now, when you go and put that new spider in, you are going to hammer those caps down into place. And when you do this, you might even notice that that entire joint actually gets a little bit stiff because those caps are pressed so far in. No worries if this does happen. What you can do is you can actually hammer the yoke. Again, do it lightly, maybe with a brass hammer, and it's actually going to free up that joint. It's going to kick those caps out just a little bit so that your joint can move freely. This is something that I experienced while I was going through the job. I had actually hit those caps in a little bit too much, and to free it up, I just tapped on the yoke a little bit and the joint moved a lot smoother. And now the last tip I have for you is once you get those new joints installed, whether it's already on the vehicle or you have the shaft ready to put into the vehicle, make sure you grease up those new joints. You're going to want to pump out all of that OEM grease that's in there and really saturate those caps and the overall joint with new grease. Again, this is going to help to make sure you have full range of motion and that there's no shortage of lubrication inside of those joints. Now that's going to wrap it up on the tips when replacing your U-joints. If you are looking to tackle this job, I have a full tutorial of it listed down below. It's about 24 minutes long. Tip for that is to watch it on 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 speed. Sometimes I talk a little bit slow, but feel free to reference that. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.